Welcome in to Hail Varsity Postgame. I know we're a little bit early today, but I figured at 68-0, we could probably call this one a W for the Huskers. I'm Ravi Lulla. That's Austin Jacobsen. We appreciate you joining us here. We're live at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. I know it's a late night, but in future weeks, why don't you come out and join us? We have for the game today. Love to have a nice crowd here in future weeks for the post game as well. Austin, how we doing today?
Doing good. Can't complain. Feeling good. And not only that, but also, man, what a performance by Nebraska. It never felt shaky. Let me be very clear about this. It never felt shaky. But there was a quick moment there in the first quarter that there was a slight tinge of annoyance and frustration with red zone offense. But it's a positive day. Let's just be positive, right? We missing something?
Are you muted right now on your laptop?
I don't think so.
No, I mean, I think you do.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I gotcha. We'll figure it out. Oh, the speaker's over there.
So I think there's, you're right. There was a little bit, first and foremost, very happy with the result here today. You can't be anything but pleased with when you get three quarterbacks in. TJ Lateef could cook a little bit.
Yeah.
We'll get to that later.
How about that scramble?
We'll get to TJ Crazy Legs Lateef here in a little bit. But what I will say is, you're right. Early on in the first quarter, I was a little annoyed. I go, hey, I need you to score in the red zone a little bit here.
Yeah,
I need to not fumble at the goal line. I need to not get stopped on 4th and 1 by the Akron Zips here. But they turned it around. They got rolling. They started converting on just about everything, and it's turned out into a currently 68-0, and that is officially final 68-0 win for your Nebraska Cornhuskers. I have to do a little Googling here. That's the most points they've scored in a hot minute here at the University of Nebraska.
That's pretty good.
The one that comes right to my mind most recently is probably 2019 Western. They got 56.
73, I think, against Idaho State is the other one.
When is that one?
That would have been 2012, maybe?
I'll say we're going back a ways.
Yeah, let me see.
I think we're safely the most points in at least a decade.
73-7, 2012, September 22nd, Nebraska won. That was a number 25 Nebraska team. I think that might be the next question is Nebraska going to be a top 25 team after putting up almost a 80 burger?
Almost an 80 burger. Skurs by 80. Almost had them. Did get over 700 yards of total offense. 494 passing between the three quarterbacks on 32 of 40. 4 touchdowns, 0 picks. 33 rushing yards, 234 total yards. 7.1 yards per carry. 5 touchdowns there. Is that good? That seems pretty good.
Yeah, and again, it's all relative, right? You never watch this game and consider that Nebraska would ever be put into the position of being the inferior team, the less talented team, the team with less depth, any of that. That was the preconceived notion before this game was even, when it was announced, we had that assumption of this game. Mm-hmm. But I think one of the first things I told you when you first sat down here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill in La Vista, that how many times over the past 6-7 years have we had a game like this that felt this way, where the only thing that you can truthfully gripe about and really get annoyed with is some of the first half decisions when it came to red zone offense? That's it.
And not even decisions, like execution.
Exactly.
Right? More than anything.
Otherwise, and it's the same sentiment I had at the very end of the Cincinnati game too. It felt very, very much like a game that Nebraska has every opportunity to learn from and fix their mistakes. Nebraska didn't have too many mistakes in this one, but in that first half, first quarter, especially when the game probably should have been 21-0 at the end of the first quarter, this was a game that Nebraska definitely has some things that they get to look back on tape on Sunday when they roll out of bed tomorrow morning and get to say, hey, we still have some things to work on, which is the best place to be if you're a team that continues to grow under head coach Matt Rule.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, so much of what we've talked about with Nebraska over the last whatever number of years you want to pick a number that you've been annoyed about with Nebraska football. Whatever number you pick is fine and accurate, right? Mm-hmm. And you sit there and you go, okay, one of the main things that has bothered us the most is Nebraska hasn't done to equal or inferior opponents what they should have done, right? We saw it last year with with UTEP, with Northern Iowa. We wring our hands. We're like, kind of maybe should have been more than that. Maybe should have been able to run it up a little bit more than that. And you sit there and you go, okay, this is exactly what you're supposed to do against Akron, right? This is exactly what you're supposed to do against Akron. You're supposed to leave no doubt. It's supposed to be a celebration. You're supposed to be able to pull starters midway through the third, which they did. I mean, we didn't see Emmett Johnson. We didn't see Dylan Raiola. We didn't see Ja'Cory Barney or Isaiah Hunter or Dane Key. We got starting offensive linemen out of there. Midway through the third quarter, everybody was out. And they were still able to continue to put up points after that as well. I believe everybody got out with about 47-0, and they were able with backups to tack on 3 more touchdowns there. So that's the big thing for me. And I said, it's just Nebraska did the thing they're supposed to do.
Yep.
Which more than anything else is what we've wanted from this team for years.
Yep.
Do the thing you're supposed to do.
And it's the thing that you and DB talked about on the morning shows and everything we talked about. When we hit like mid-July, what did you guys start to run them on, right? It was about beating the Big Ten's middle. Well, the Big Ten's middle was doing this to opponents of Akron's level, and now Nebraska is starting to match that level, and we're seeing it now. It's real. This is an actual stat that we can put down. We can say, you had this many yards per game. You have now passed for this many yards. You have now beaten a plus-minus differential that is at this level. That's an impressive mark, and it does showcase, no matter what anyone wants to say about a game like this, it does exactly showcase what Nebraska is starting to become. Because you don't have efforts like this without building depth, without building the type of talent, and without the execution that Nebraska needed to get to this moment.
Well, and it's important. It's an incredible. Sorry, I just saw the Hail Varsity graphic for the final score for the game. Nebraska 68, Akron zip.
That's a David Schumacher classic right there.
That's a funny play on words there, my friend. I enjoy that quite a bit. No, listen, these are what these games are for, right? Like, how many times have we talked in the last 10 years where you sit there and you go, man, they really didn't have opportunities to get their backups in there to get reps. These are important reps. Like, it's not just about going out there and blowing somebody out, right? It's about going out there and being like, oh, holy crap, Ashton Murphy got a sack, right? Oh, we got to see Mav Noonan in the game.
Elkhorn South's finest.
We got to see, I was sort of kidding with the crazy legs thing, but we got to see TJ Lateef ball out a little bit, right? Like, we got our backup quarterback, our like actual reps. That's a real thing. That's important, right?
When the Nebraska defensive single stats for total tackles goes down like a girlfriend trying to break up with you text, I mean, this is insane. I mean, I'm counting about 25, 30 guys who registered at least a tackle. The leading tackler in this game was Deshaun Singleton. He had 3. Usually that would be a bad thing, but the fact that you had 25, 30 guys that all contributed a tackle, pretty impressive, and also showcased, again, you had depth pieces that could go in. You had guys that you wanted to be able to see in live action. You got to see them tonight. And not only that, how many times in the past couple of years have we had games that kind of got out of reach that Nebraska was able to get some of these younger guys in, and they didn't necessarily perform up to snuff with where they should have been?
Yeah.
You watched them and you said, I don't know about that development. I watched a young Mosey run the ball today.
Yeah, that dude does not like to get tackled.
No. I mean, he's not running scared either. He's not trying to run away from something.
No.
I mean, he's running to get across the plane on the opposite side of the field every single time.
Yeah, my guy who I've been a big fan of. I like his build a lot. I loved the move to running back. That's a dude that I looked at and I go, okay, he's gonna be something. Like that's where you said you saw Mekhi Nelson with some really nice runs. You saw Quentin Ives, who we'd heard a lot about, right? We'd heard a lot about since the bowl game last year. Quentin Ives goes out and has a big touchdown run as well. We saw Elijah Pritchett come in with the second unit, right? Who we thought, okay, like we had a battle for the starting left tackle spot, right? And Elijah Pritchett, we're like, okay, we think he's the most talented guy, but he's maybe making some mistakes in practice. We saw that dude come out and have an opportunity to get real game reps and play well. He opened up, him and I believe it was Jake Peters, opened up a huge hole for Quentin Ives on that touchdown run. We saw Carter Nelson, who one of the plays last week where Nelson was going to have an opportunity, or it was either Nelson or Mosey was going to have an opportunity to come around the end and have a really nice run. Carter Nelson missed the block. It gets tackled in the backfield. Carter Nelson had some huge blocks in the running game.
That PFF grade is going to be high on that, man.
I rewinded a couple of them for you here to show you, like, he had some really nice blocks. It was a bunch of guys that got to work on things that they need work on. That it goes back to what Dana Holgorsen said in his press conference this week with his media availability. You can only get so much better in practice, right? You can only get so much better in fall camp. That doesn't just apply to the starters. That also applies to the guys that you're trying to develop as well. That's why games like this matter. You need to run up the score so that those guys can get the reps that make them better, which will make you better long term.
And on that note, too, it's a pride thing, right? Your starters should want to get the guys who have been busting their ass for weeks to get into a game, to play in front of, it wouldn't have been 90,000 at that point, but it would have been 50,000 fans that are sitting out from Fairfield, Nebraska that want to be able to watch Ashton Murphy get a sack in the game, to see someone from Ainsworth, to see all these guys that have Nebraska ties. This is the culmination of Nebraska football at its finest, is how tough do your starters want to play so that way your backups and the guys that they, again, bust their ass for every single week in fall camp, that you room with, you sit in the dorms with, and you hang out with during the summer, and you don't know anywhere else to go. Those guys deserve as much opportunity to play in this game as anyone else does. And Dylan Raiola, Ja'Cory Barney, Emmett Johnson, all the way from the starting offensive line to the backup defensive backs, all had to make sure that they played their best today. And I think that they can say that they gave at minimum A- efforts to get to that point in the contest.
Absolutely. David says on the chat here, maybe DB knows what he's talking about. Depth, not just numbers. You have to get game reps to build depth, but you have to have opportunity to get game reps in order to build that depth. Mississippi State just goes almost final. It's 24-20 over Arizona State. Arizona State's in deep trouble there against Mississippi State, just as we update you on some of the late scores here.
Yep, and Oklahoma now 24-13 against Michigan at home. Looks like they just kicked a field goal, and they're going to send Bryce Underwood back out here for Michigan with under 2 minutes to play.
But back to the point, whether you're talking, Cade Petchak is a great example on that defensive line. He had some splash plays, right?
I had to look up pronunciations there for a second.
Listen, yes, we did, because it is not pronounced how it's spelled.
North Dakota's finest.
Cade Petchak had a couple of huge plays in the first half. We saw Mav Noonan recovered a fumble there, which is great for the Pride of Elkhorn South there. There were a lot of really, really positive things here, and it isn't one of those, this is one of the very few times in recent history where Nebraska football, you just walk away and you say, I don't feel bad about anything. Right? Do I love the red zone stuff early? No. But they executed so well after that I don't feel bad. This is one of the, I can't remember the last time I walked away from a Nebraska football game and didn't feel bad about anything.
And okay, that brings up a good question too. How many times have we watched a Nebraska football game in which the Huskers got better as the game continued on? Even in this sense too. And again, you can put in big quotations. Rico, if you want to put it across the big screen, everything asterisk is set against Akron. We understand what Akron is and was before they got to Lincoln today, while they were playing the game, and what they'll be when they leave and get on the airfield, right? But this is a team that, despite the red zone issues in the very first quarter, Nebraska got better as the game went on.
Absolutely.
We haven't said that about the Huskers in a very long time.
And it's one of those things where, a lot of times, especially, last year happened a lot, where Nebraska would come out, they kind of blitz somebody, and then it would sort of just feel like a slow bleed till the end of the game. This was, Nebraska actually started kind of slow and then just piled on and piled on and piled on until the camel's back broke, and here we are with a 68-0 victory over the Akron Zips. And listen, I get it. It's Akron. That's the caveat on the whole thing. But my point is, this isn't the first Akron-type team Nebraska's played in the last decade. It is one of the first times Nebraska's actually done this to an Akron-type team in the last decade. UTEP wasn't a good football team last year. This is what it should have looked like against UTEP, but it's the first start for a true freshman quarterback and whatever else you've got going on into that. But that's kind of my point here. It's not like UTEP is significantly better than Akron, right? It's not like Northern Iowa is significantly better than Akron, although maybe they might be. But you know what I mean? There's been so many of these games where you go through and you're like, that team's not that much better than what we just witnessed. And Eventually, Akron will score a point this season. I'm almost positive. Almost, not 100%, but almost positive.
That's mean.
They will at some point score a point this
they
season.
Played, and Wyoming isn't that great either, but they played a competitive defensive special teams field position type game a week ago, and they had to be able to get prepared for Nebraska. They had Akron had every single opportunity that was their best chances against Wyoming, right? Their special teams, some of their interior defensive play, some of their back end stuff, not trying to be incredibly leaky, right? Those were all exposed by Nebraska. And again, in quotations, we know it's Akron, but it's another one of those deals that the punter was so off of his game, he shanked one, and Nebraska was able to then, get great field position and score off of it. They did everything they needed to be able to get Akron into an uncomfortable position and have success, put them away, and get your depth in.
So somebody brought up in the chat Georgia Southern, right?
Good point.
2022 Georgia Southern. Nebraska loses that game 45-42. That is a bad Georgia Southern team. They were 6-7 on the season. Georgia Southern lost to UAB. They lost to a good Coastal Carolina team. They lost to Georgia State, South Alabama, Louisiana, Marshall, and Buffalo that year. That's why this matters. That's why Akron and winning against Akron like this matters, because it hasn't been a given, right? Winning against teams like this hasn't been a given. Winning like this against teams like this hasn't been a given. So you can sit here and it's Akron, take it with a grain of salt, and I get that, right? It was kind of funny. I was having a conversation with our friend Matt DeMarinis from the White and Blue Review. Love Matt's work. He was, he's been working all weekend with Creighton volleyball and things like that, but he's a big Oregon football fan. And he was talking about Oklahoma State and the Oregon game and how that went. And I was like, all right, buddy, let's slow down a little bit. Like,
pump the brakes.
Oklahoma State's a very bad football team. I don't know that if you're not paying super close attention to stuff outside Nebraska and the Big Ten, you may not realize how dramatically and horrifically Oklahoma State has fallen off in the last couple of years. But that is a dreadfully bad football team, right? And I was kind of giving him a hard time. I was mostly joking, tongue in cheek, but you know how I am. And so I was telling him, hey, like, Oregon doing that against Oklahoma State, they're in a very different spot as a program than Nebraska is doing something like this to Akron. Now, there's things you can take away from both games, 100%, right? But Nebraska hasn't done this to anyone, right? This is not where they've been as a program. This is a step in the right direction. This is progress.
Ravi, let's play a fun game called How Would You Feel After This Final, right? So these are top 25 finals from today's action.
Real top 25 teams.
If Nebraska beat Florida International 34-0, how would you feel? Replace it with the Akron game, right? 34-0, and you only lead 10-0 at halftime.
I would not feel great.
That's the number 2 team, Penn State, in the country that won 34-0.
I would not feel great.
If Nebraska beat Austin Peay 28-6, how would you feel?
Bad, very bad.
That's the number 4 team, Georgia, that beat Austin Peay 28-6. What if I told you beat San Jose State 38-7 at home? How would you feel?
Fine, but not in love with it.
That's number 7 Texas that did that today. And Nebraska won 68-0 against a team. And again, I would argue that Akron is probably worse than most of those teams. 28-6, 34-0, 38-7. Nebraska put up nearly a 70 burger on a team that is at probably the same, at least conference level as all these teams, if not maybe even a little bit above in an FCS team.
And to be fair, probably should have been an 80 burger.
Yes.
If the first quarter goes a little bit better, that's probably an 80 burger. But your point is very well taken. And I mean, how would you feel if you're Florida today?
I would not feel good.
Right?
Lost to South Florida, 18-16.
Lost to South Florida. And this is why, by the way, I'm going to do a little thing.
Please do, sir.
Because this is why all off season I was saying, are we sure we want to just crown DJ Lagway? Are we sure? Are we sure the Athletic, I'm talking to you, are we sure we want to rank Mark Gronowski ahead of Dylan Raiola as far as quarterbacks in power conference football? Are we sure? Because those are two guys, one in which has the exact same pedigree and almost, I know you don't believe me, no matter how many times I said it on the morning show, I know you don't believe me, but almost the exact same stats as Dylan Raiola. DJ Lagway and Dylan Raiola had almost the exact same stats last year. Look it up. Sportsreference.com is your friend. Mark Gronowski is making an enormous jump from FCS football. He was a great, great player at South Dakota State. That is not an insignificant jump. That is a thing that is hard to do. And he might end up having a great year for Iowa. But to just assume and pencil in the fact that he was going to have zero learning curve is absolutely bonkers. To assume that DJ Lagway was going to be the 25th best player in the country, ESPN, I'm talking to you, 25th best player, not 25th best quarterback, 25th best player in the country after starting all of 7 football games. And by the way, having basically no time to be healthy this offseason to actually get better. I went through the laundry list. There's a shoulder, there's a hamstring, there's a calf. He didn't take a rep in fall practice until like 10 days before the game started. My guy basically was never available to actually get better. And that's not to say that DJ Lagway isn't going to be a very good football player someday and probably get drafted in the first round. The point is, we assumed these things with more question marks of these other guys. And we said, Dylan Raiola probably not going to get any better. And guess what? Dylan Raiola got a lot better. If for no other reason that he's got one of the top offensive minds in the last quarter century of college football as his offensive coordinator now in Dana Holgorsen. This is a guy, like, if you had given me the exact same version of Dylan, which, by the way, we don't have. We have a better version of Dylan than we had last year. If for no other reason than he is no longer a true freshman and he started 13 games, now 15 games, right? But even if you gave me the exact same Dylan Raiola I had last year, Dana Holgorsen makes him a better quarterback. Now you add the fact that Dylan Raiola actually got better. He got himself into better shape. We saw a design QB run from Dylan Raiola.
Look at that. The spin move.
We get a little, put him in a spin cycle.
Get the wiggle.
You know, like, we've got a guy making good decisions. And after last week, when everybody's like, oh man, why isn't he taking shots downfield? Did he take enough shots downfield? Did he rip the ball enough?
Say it, Robbie.
Are we cool?
Come on.
Are we good now? Because somebody wasn't running 3 high safety. Cincinnati was running a prevent defense the whole damn game. That's why he didn't rip the ball downfield. I don't think you appreciate, not everybody, I'm talking to very specific people here.
A specific we.
Not the royal we, a specific we. I don't think people appreciate how hard it was to execute the game plan Nebraska did last week and do it in a winning fashion, to complete 80% of your passes when you could not stretch the field because of what the defense was running. That's a Dana Holgorsen thing. That is a year 2 Dylan Raiola thing. That is a high-level quarterback competency thing. And then we saw the other version of it tonight where he is just ripping the ball at people. I don't know how many times we had deep crossing routes and up the seam to Luke Lindemeyer and deep routes to Isaiah Hunter.
And DR just threading the needle down the middle, trying to get some crosses
to Ja'Cory Barney,
doing his thing.
And dimes in the end zone to Dane Key. Like, what are we talking about here? But no, let's give DJ Lagway all the love, and let's give 90 career passes Arch Manning all the love. Let's give whoever else, let's give Mark Gronowski, FCS King, all the love, right? Just ignore Dylan. Listen, that's fine. You're going to have a harder time ignoring him now.
And also, how about this? Numbers never lie, Ravi. They never lie, especially when they're in our favor. With 607 passing yards, Mr. Dylan Raiola, who is still not old enough to get a drink from Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, is second in the NCAA in total passing yards. He's also tied for first in the NCAA in total passing touchdowns. And he's also played one less game than 2 quarterbacks who are in the top 15.
And a quarter and a half less than a bunch of those guys because he wasn't playing after about 8 minutes left in the third quarter.
Yep.
Right? So this is a dude that's playing at a really high level right now. We'll see what that looks like in 2 weeks against Michigan. I understand that. But this is a better version of Dylan Raiola. This is a better version of the Nebraska offense than we had last year. That's the important part. And the disrespect nationally from that, considering this isn't a guy that was a 3-star.
Yep.
Right? There was a guy a handful of years ago that came out of nowhere as a true freshman for USC named Keaton Slovis. Right?
Yep.
Came out of nowhere as a true freshman. A bunch of guys got hurt and he balled out as a freshman. And he didn't get a ton of national respect because he was an unheralded recruit. USC, I believe, was his only power conference offer. And people are like, I don't really know what to do with this guy. Right? That's not the case for Dylan Raiola. He was either the first or second ranked quarterback in the country. He was a certified 5-star.
Yep.
Everybody knew this kid's name. Everybody wanted him. I know he ended up at Nebraska, so some people nationally are like, oh, he can't be that good. Well, guess what? Georgia and Ohio State were crying in their Wheaties that they didn't get him.
You don't think Georgia, who won 28-6 today, would have wanted a Dylan Raiola performance?
You don't think they would? You don't think he'd be starting over Gunnar Stockton right now? Because I do.
I know that he'd be starting.
You don't think he'd be starting over Julian Sand right now? Because I do.
Mm-hmm.
I am 100% positive that is the case at both of those institutions.
It's crazy.
You don't think that, I'll even go further. You don't think that Dana Holgorsen is a better offensive coordinator than first-year OC Brian Hartline? First-year OC at Ohio State.
Go down the list. No, keep going down the list. Keep going down. I want to keep hearing it. You don't think Jaquel Shorts would rather have been anywhere else in the world than Nebraska when he got an opportunity to join a wide receiver corps that was growing and building and join a coaching staff that was like that?
And that
Come on,
they were
what are we
having
talking about?
Dylan Raiola throw them the football?
Yes.
It's
almost like the receiver's job gets a lot easier when you have an elite quarterback who can throw you the ball.
It's almost like Dane Key and Isaiah Hunter came here because of Dylan Raiola.
I wonder why Ja'Cory Barney would have wanted to stay instead of transfer out of Lincoln to stay in Lincoln.
And I wonder why Ja'Cory Barney was like, hey, Cortez Mills, let's get this Flobraska thing going.
Yeah.
Why don't you come here to Lincoln and ball out with our boy, Dylan Raiola? It seems like everybody else knew except for the national media, right? And I'm not a hate on the national media guy. I'm really not.
Hey, easier to shout loud in public than it is inside your own house.
But when they're wrong, I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
And they were dead ass wrong from what we've seen on Dylan Raiola. And again, that's not to say these other guys aren't going to be good quarterbacks.
Well, one of them, number 39, but that's different.
It's to say that you better show my man some damn respect.
100%.
That's the point here.
100%.
We've got...
He's completing over 77% of his passes.
JB says Latif has one more passing yard in less than a half than Iowa starting quarterback in 2 games. Goat comment, JB.
Thank
Goat
you.
comment. That's incredible.
Speaking of our comment section, you can see some of the comments up in our corner. You can follow us and watch us on Facebook, X, YouTube, wherever you want to get your socials. If you tweet at us and use the hashtag HV Postgame, we want to get your thoughts. So send us a video of you talking about your biggest gripes, maybe your biggest wins, whatever your thoughts are from this game. Tweet at us. We'll put them in the show whenever Ravi and I need to take a breath for some oxygen. But I'll tell you what, Ravi, right now I feel like I'm in church. I don't need to go tomorrow because you're preaching. Insane.
Double B says, could you imagine tonight's game if Holgorsen was a good OC? It'd be unbelievable. Maybe they would have had 1,000 yards of total offense instead of just over 700.
Again, you want to go back even to this rule era. I know we wanted to do this comparison with some of the Georgia Southern games and some of the other games from the Riley era and such, but you even go back to how far this program has grown. Northern Illinois 2 years ago was not, it was a dogfight for a part of that contest in Rule's first year. Yeah. And even last year, you brought up UTEP a couple of times. I mean, you look at some of the games that Nebraska has played in which they should have won by significant margins. And I know that we had referenced this at the beginning of the show, but when you become a better team, this is what you do. You squander opponents' ability to be able to score on you. You demolish their hope the minute that they enter your stadium, and you take away any hope that they have if there's a chance that they could upset you, right?
Does anybody know does anybody know what UTEP finished last year? You know off the top of your head?
I think it's 1-11. Didn't they win one?
They were 3-9.
3-9.
They lost immediately after, and that was a 40-7 game for those of you that don't remember. 40-7 game opening week at Nebraska. They then lost to Southern Utah.
Notable FCS power.
They lost to Sam Houston. They lost to WKU. They lost to La Tech. They lost to Middle Tennessee. It took 2 overtimes to beat the worst team in college football, Kennesaw State. That's not an exaggeration. Kennesaw State is the worst team in college football. It took them 2 overtimes for that. They lost 56-0 to Tennessee, which is what it should have looked like against Nebraska. And then they won a game against New Mexico State, one of the other worst teams in college football. So this is my point. We are 1 year later. We are a year older Dylan Raiola. We have a different offensive coordinator. We have better weapons. And this is what it's supposed to look like. UTEP is probably a very fair comparison to Akron. I think that is a very one-to-one, apples-to-apples comparison. And we have it right here in front of us. This looked way different. It just did. I believe it was it 33-0 at halftime also to UTEP? Am I remembering that correctly? And I think Nebraska only scored 7 points in the second half.
That sounds about right.
Am I imagining
was it
that?
23-0? It might have been 23.
Regardless.
Whatever it was, yeah.
Like, this is what we're talking about here. Yep. This is what it's supposed to look like against the UTEPs and Akrons of the world, and it finally does.
Yeah, and again, like, we're not going to be, like, super hot takey or anything about this. There's no reason to be, because Nebraska did what they're supposed to do. We had a comment in our section here, which, again, comment online on Facebook, X, wherever you want to get there. Trevor said, how do we feel about the defense? He thought they did great. They did play great. They did.
Yeah.
There's a goose egg on the board for a reason. It's Nebraska's first shutout since God knows when.
Yeah, I mean, shutting teams out's hard.
We're talking few administrations ago, right?
Shutting teams out is hard.
It's not easy, especially when you put in young groups of other players that aren't used to that sort of spotlight, that their nerves can get in. They have the entire game, 3 quarters worth, to sit and watch. And then finally someone taps them on the shoulder and says, it's your time, get on in there. And they want to perform. They performed tonight. They did their best.
30-7 last year at halftime against UTEP. And Rico says 2009 was the last shutout. So just some perspective here on what we witnessed tonight. And it's, again, not like this is the first Akron they've played since 2009.
Yeah.
This is, there's 1 or 2 of these every year, right? That's how the schedule shakes out. There's 1 or 2 of these every single year. There was UTEP in Northern Iowa last year. There's Akron and Houston Christian this year. There's 1 or 2 of these every single year. And Nebraska hasn't shut anybody out since 2009. They were not only, but they were up 30-7 at halftime last year. That only ends up being a 40-7 game. This is what it's supposed to look like when you're superior to other people. This is what it's supposed to look like.
You want to play another fun game?
I would love to. I love fun games.
Let's play a fun game called Biggest Worries from Cincinnati. Where is your confidence level now in, let's just say, defensive line run game? Where do you feel now? Do you feel more confident or less confident coming out of this game compared to what you saw from Cincinnati?
I feel fine. I felt fine after Cincinnati. I feel fine now. Okay. I 100% do. I think we were not respectful enough as a general population that Cincinnati was good at some of the things they did. Like, I don't know what Cincinnati's final record's going to end up being, but I would imagine
they're 1-1 right now.
They won today. I would imagine they're going to be a bowl team from a power conference. That would be my guess. I think they're a probably 6 or 7 win team in the Big 12. That's good. Like, that's good to beat that team. Right? Would you like to beat them a little more handily? Sure. But it's good. If you're beating a bowl team from a power conference, that's a positive. Take it and quit asking questions.
For anyone keeping stats at home, Nebraska's defense has allowed less than 100 yards passing so far this season.
In both
games.
Combined.
Yes.
That's not very many yards passing.
No.
Typically, you get more than that in a single game.
You would think so, right? But it's almost as if, well, Brandon Sorsby, he's a running quarterback, right? Nebraska's defense, they weren't ready for someone like him, right?
Well, so
it's almost as if he threw for, I don't know, like 333 yards today and 3 touchdowns and only missed 7 incompletions of his 24 passing attempts.
Oh, weird. So he is capable of passing the football.
Oh, not only that, but he's pretty good at it too.
So this isn't like an Alex Orji last year situation for Michigan. Like, this guy's actually can throw the football.
Yes, actually.
It's almost like the 2,800 yards and 18-7 touchdown interception ratio from last year that I threw out to people when he only threw for 50 yards against Nebraska. Like, that actually was like, oh, maybe he can do this. Maybe he's good at this.
Yeah.
That's just something to keep in mind. The secondary might be really, really good.
Also, okay, I know you want to get to like game balls and all that sort of stuff like later on. We got plenty of time. We're going to be hanging out here for God knows how long. But how about setting the tone early?
All day.
Defensively. Deshaun Singleton running that jet sweep down.
Yeah, so I got to give credit.
I know you tweeted it.
Yeah, I got to have credit where credit's due. One of the things that's bothered me about Deshaun Singleton is I feel like he sometimes doesn't make decisions quickly enough. I feel it's not a physical issue, because when he makes a decision, physically he can do everything you want him to do. I thought he did a much better job today. Not just him, but the defense in general, but I'll single him out specifically because I had singled him out specifically to the negative before. I thought he did a much better job of what John Butler talked about, or might have been Matt Rule, of what Matt Rule talked about during the week about playing faster. He said, I thought our guys played hard. I need them to play faster. I thought they played faster today. I asked DB the question, DB and Michael Rose-Ivy on Hurrdat Sports Live this week. I go, hey, is it better to be wrong fast or right slow? Because I was genuinely asking, because I don't know. Like, they played this game at a level like that I had never dreamt of. And especially Michael Rose-Ivy playing a second-level defender. That was really specifically what I was asking about. If you're a second-level defender and you're waiting for a run fit and you're trying to say, okay, where do I need to be here? Would you rather somebody be wrong fast or right slow? And they both unequivocally said wrong fast.
Yep.
Whatever you do, do it fast. Solve problems with aggression. Be wrong fast. Because then the people that are cleaning up for you know where to go. Even if you're wrong, they can cover for you because you made your decision quickly. I think that's something that this certain safeties in this scheme have struggled with.
Mm-hmm.
And I've pointed out Deshaun Singleton specifically. I pointed out Gifford at times last year that I thought he struggled with that as well. Today, I thought Singleton did a very good job of making decisions quickly and being committed and convicted in his decisions. And then, whether he was right or wrong, and he was right a lot tonight, whether he was right or wrong, giving his other defenders an opportunity to clean up after him.
And then not only that, I also felt like the linebackers, other defensive backs, I know that you mentioned, but even defensive linemen, when they were in read option opportunities, which Akron put them in a couple of different times, whether it was just like unblocked man or a read option opportunity, man, did everyone just play fast?
Yeah.
It was almost as if, and this is almost like a rule trait of when he says something in press conferences, it's almost like it's said to the team too. Yeah. It's not like it's just said to us for us to hear and make us feel better about themselves.
It's not for our own gratification.
Yeah, it's almost like John Butler said, probably in his meetings and to the media and to the general audience, hey, people need to play faster.
Yeah.
They played fast today.
Yes.
Guys flew through the ball, flew through their reads. Akron's life was made a living hell in their own backfield the entirety of today's contest. And it was, again, from position 1 to position 3 on the depth chart. Every single layer played fast.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. I understand. We talked about this off air before we came on the show. Mm-hmm. I understand people are going to sit here and be like, oh, well, it's easy to play fast against Akron and blah, blah, blah. And it's not, though, right? You still have to make your decision. You have to make your read and make your decision basically in the same amount of time, right? There might be split seconds differences there, but you're basically still making those decisions in the same amount of time. And what you can tell is, even against a team like Akron, if you're not making your decisions fast enough, there's still going to be yards. Now, it might be 3 against Akron instead of 6 against Michigan, but they weren't getting the 3, is my point, right? Yep. The decisions were being made and you were meeting them in the backfield or at the line of scrimmage. That's a real key here, because you don't see that when guys aren't making decisions quickly. I thought they did a really good job of that at all levels, but especially got to give my props to Singleton.
On top of that, too, we'll get through defense more, I'm sure. Special teams, significantly, without ever seeing the punting unit, even when Nebraska was not able to get touchdowns, which was frustrating, they still got points.
Yeah.
And they still did it. And I was talking to this conversation with Dr. Girlfriend before I left to come back over here to get ready for the post-game show. But she was asking me about going for it on the 1 yard line and deciding to not take points and just go for it there. That's what they would do if it was Akron or if it was Alabama. They were going to always go for it because that's the strategy of the game. That's how you're going to play the contest. I have some issue with the fact that they weren't able to get a singular yard against Akron to cross the goal line when you have Heinrich Harburg. Sure. But again, you can zoom in on that and say, listen, we won 68-0. We got to get this right, because if we don't do that against Michigan, that might be the play that costs us against the number 15 team in the country.
Yeah, absolutely. There's still teaching tape there for everybody.
Yeah.
Right. There's still teaching tape. You can sit there and you go, hey, probably need to execute a little bit better on the goal line. You can go to Emmett Johnson and say, hey, you hang on to that damn football.
Yes.
Right? Like that's like, I mean, Rule said it basically during the in-game interviews, right? He's like, that's a totally unacceptable thing, right? That is a totally unacceptable thing that cannot ever happen again. And you're lucky it happened against Akron because it's not Akron.
Did you just LeBron me?
I did.
I'm just a kid from Akron.
You're lucky that it happened against the Zips, because it's not going to cost you. But that's still a learning moment. That's still a teaching moment. You go out there and you see, all right, we are in a position now where we can execute at a high level. We can look at the mistakes and learn from them in real time, right? This isn't a thing where, it's going to take 2, 3, 4 weeks to learn from something. They're learning in real time during the games and getting better from DB talked about this, not just week to week, but series to series. They're getting better. I think that's really important.
So before we get too far down the list, I'll give you a minute to breathe here. We do have breaking news coming out. This is about 15 minutes ago. This just actually happened. If you want to pull up onto the screen here and check this out. That is Luke Lindenmeyer.
Oh, congrats, Luke.
Now engaged. What a game to do it to.
So he got his first touchdown as a Husker today, and getting married.
Yeah.
Congrats to my guy, Luke Lindemeyer.
Congrats, Luke.
We love Luke Lindemeyer here.
We love love.
This is
Hail Varsity Postgame loves love.
We are pro Luke Lindemeyer here.
Yeah.
Like we are. I mean, DB was on this before everybody. Of like, hey, that guy's a really good football player.
I said it last week. Don't give me any credit.
I mean, he said it like a year before you, so I'm gonna give him the credit there. But he was on it last year. He goes, hey man, like this guy's a good football player, and then we've seen it in the first. I mean, he had as many catches last week as he had his entire career up to that point. Mm-hmm. He had a couple more today. He had the touchdown today. The one-handed catch. Every time I see him do something, I'm like, damn, that guy's really good at football.
Yeah. Just
every single time. I'm like, Luke Lindemeyer, good at football.
Yep.
And you love to see it. He had some crackdown blocks on runs that ended up springing Emmett Johnson a couple times.
Can you believe we've been on this for 43 minutes? That's the first time we said Emmett Johnson, first and last name.
Yeah, I mean, he only had like 130 yards rushing in the first half on 13 carries. That's pretty good, huh?
Well, on top of that, too, give credit. I told this to you. The fumble from Emmett's one thing. The way the line blocking scheme works with his ability to cut and maneuver through the lanes is incredible, and it's incredibly impactful. Because they're one and the same.
Yeah.
They're meant for him to run through. Now, obviously, when you part the Red Seas and you can just run straight for 60 yards, that helps as well.
It certainly does.
You and I could have went for a good chunk of change on that one. But there were a lot of opportunities when Akron, it's almost like DB broke down on the film from last week, right? Against Nebraska's run defense against Cincinnati. Akron was in the right positions, but Emmett made plays where the lanes were supposed to be designed. And although the bodies were there, head positions in the wrong place, you're not physical enough where you need to be, Emmett made you pay today.
Yeah.
And he made them pay several times. He had big chunk change games. He had huge runs that got, especially the game-breaking one at the very beginning of the game. That in itself, I think that's maybe the most underrated part of this entire game, is the fact that Emmett finally did the thing that Matt Rhule has talked about for 2 damn years, is when you've got a run that can go 5 yards, you got to go 50.
Yeah.
And Emmett set the pace of this entire game by going 50 on the first effing drive.
Right off the bat.
Right? I mean, right when everyone is like, okay, how's this game going to go? Because you don't want Akron to hang around. You don't want people to be, grumbly. We got to look a certain way. Yeah. Emmett just said, nope, I'm going to go 0 to 40 right now, and I'm going to get my 47 yards. We're going to get 6, and we're going to get it rolling right away. There's a way to set the stage, and Emmett set it perfectly from the beginning.
Absolutely. There is, you can't say enough about the performance of Emmett Johnson. Like I said, over 130 yards, 13 carries in the first half. Set his career-long rushing rush attempt with the 47-yarder. Had the receiving touchdown as well. We kind of saw the full Emmett, the full Emmett experience on display here. Now, hopefully, we don't see the fumble experience anymore.
Right.
But
hey, don't forget the summer offseason crew that was like, well, Emmett doesn't score touchdowns. That was also a thing.
How many did he have today? 3?
He had 3.
You have 3 today? That's pretty good.
I think he's doing okay for a season average of 3.
Yeah, so he ended up with 14 carries for 140 yards. That's 10 yards a carry for those of you that aren't great at math. 2 touchdowns on the ground, another one through the air as well. This was, I mean, this was exactly what you wanted from this game if you're Nebraska.
Yeah.
There's only so many ways to put that. This is exactly what you wanted from this game as Nebraska. And I hate to, I don't want to set the stage here too much. I think Akron's better than Houston Christian. If I'm being honest, I'm pretty sure.
I did see a tweet from our good friend Connor Happer about mid-first quarter. He's like, let's check in on Houston Christian. They were losing at before their halftime, so we'll see. But yeah,
let's do an update on Houston Christian. Let's see what we
now
got here.
Again. Remember, too, next week's going to be an entirely different type of experience because it is an 11 a.m. kickoff, right? Everything is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be, not the same type of atmosphere. This is the home opener. People are going to get excited for it. You heard the ha ha ho ho jokes about, this was a Scott Frost Akron game, blah blah, whatever. That totally fine. 11 a.m. Houston Christian. Again, it's going to take something like what we saw from Emmett just a minute ago that I was talking about when it comes down to who's going to set the tone for this game. Who's going to get it rolling? Is Nebraska going to 70-piece Houston Christian? That should be the expectation. And I hope that that's something that Matt Rhule comes out and he says, okay, we've seen you do it once. Can you do it again? Because great teams do it twice.
Yeah, you have to be able to meet that standard year after year after year.
Give no doubt. Let all the people who have talked so many things about you throughout the offseason and gave you so many reasons to put any sort of self-doubt into your own head. Give them no reason to slander your name after 2 weeks, and give them only reason to praise you heading into Michigan.
So just for context here, Houston Christian is 1-1 on the season.
Good for them.
They lost to Eastern Kentucky today, 20-10.
Notable power.
Their win was last week. They played the same night Nebraska did. I don't know if you know this. Against Arkansas Baptist. Do you know what division Arkansas Baptist plays in?
2?
Can I give you a hint?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we played them in basketball when I was coaching.
That's not good.
That's NAI
That's
ball right there,
bad.
baby.
Yeah, that's very... Ooh.
Now they put it on Arkansas Baptist. I will give them that.
Good.
It was 69-0 against Arkansas Baptist.
So Arkansas Baptist is the Akron of the NAI. Good to know. Good to know. Yes.
But they lost to Eastern Kentucky this week. So, I mean, I do think it's reasonable to say that Houston Christian might be worse than Akron. So this is a game like that's the next step, right? Can you repeat this again without the night game, without the home opener, again against a Houston Christian team that's going to be wildly outmatched, that is not going to have, and I know he's going to get fired. I do think Joe Moorhead knows what he's doing.
Joe Moorhead should just get in a permanent Lincoln tonight. I think he should just hang out and be like, Matt, you need an analyst?
Yeah, like if he wants to be an analyst for Dana, I'd take him. I actually think Joe Moorhead is like a very good offensive mind.
He and Dana can be roommates.
I think he's a very bad head coach.
Yeah.
And I think he's taken very bad head coaching jobs. Mississippi State's a hard head coaching job. Don't tell that to Jeff Lebby, though. And I believe his other head coaching stop was Fordham. So he hasn't gotten the best head coaching opportunities. But he might be one of those guys that's better suited as an offensive coordinator.
I kind of just want to go Dead Poet Society to Joe Moorhead and just be Robin Williams and be like, it's not your fault. It's Akron. It's not your fault.
That's Goodwill Hunting.
Rip.
Yeah.
Wrong Robin.
That's like a more "Oh Captain, My Captain" situation there with the Dead Poet Society.
The same still applies. Same still applies.
Joe, it's not your fault.
Lil Dave in chat. How about this? Blocking on punt returns is pretty good. How many return yards did we get, and where are we leading the nation yet? I can try to track down those stats for you, Dave, if you want. But I will say this: there is something about the fact that you can visually see two things. You and I don't have to convince people of this. Ja'Cory Barney looked good and electric. And my God, did the turf monster get him a couple of times today?
He averaged 22 yards per return. 4 returns, 87 yards, 39 was his long. I thought he was taking one to the house at least twice of those 4, but he was able to add a dimension in the punt return game that Nebraska hasn't had. And I get it. A lot of Akron's punts weren't that good. Again, we've seen this before, and Nebraska hasn't been able to take advantage. Context is very important to taking the positives out of this game, right? Because Nebraska has had issues with the Akrons of the world and not being able to do the things they did today. Ja'Cory Barney, 4 returns, 87 yards, basically 22 yards per return. I'll take that all day.
Yeah,
from Ja'Cory Barney, and I became more and more convinced that my guy is taking one to the house at some point this year.
Well, that was the other part, too, is that not only did it look like the blocking was set up, I mean, part of it, again, it's Akron. Put the asterisks on the screen. I don't care. But there is a part of the game when you do have to play football. It doesn't matter who's playing across from you, right? Mm-hmm. Ja'Cory Barney and the special teams, they played damn good technical football today.
Absolutely.
Because Barney had many open lanes. He had an opportunity to see it, to go for it. And I'm not a high-level athlete like Ja'Cory Barney. I've never claimed to be. But I would imagine that the confidence level that you get going out of a game where you're probably a bit frustrated in the fact that you didn't get as many open field opportunities like you wanted to in the season opener against Cincinnati. Yeah, you return a couple and you get a couple of near breakaway moments against Akron. That's only going to help a great athlete and runaway star like Barney get more opportunities in the future, because now you've seen it, now you've done it, you've heard the crowd kind of swell you up a little bit. Yeah, I want to get that feeling again. I think he's willing to take more chances because of it.
Well, and here's the thing is confidence is a real thing, and it can come against whoever, right? Doing something that you haven't done before, whether you're Nebraska, whether you're Ja'Cory Barney, whoever you are, whether you're Isaiah Mosey, whether you're Mekhi Nelson, whoever. Lots of these guys, whether you're Cade Petchak, whether you're Jake Peters, whether you're whoever, right? There is a ton of Quentin Ives. There's a ton of guys that got opportunities tonight and performed.
Yes.
Right. And that's a real thing.
Ives, that's a great pull.
Like that's a real thing. If you are a high-level football player and you perform in a real stage with real stakes for the first time. That doesn't always happen. It's hard to manufacture that in practice until you've actually done it in a game. This is, going back a couple years now where Coach Rule is talking about, hey, there's two different bears that you have to fight. There's the one that figures out like, hey, I can compete at this level and that I actually am a good football player, right? Sometimes you need to do this in a game before that's the one where you can say, hey, yes, I am a good football player. Yep. Like Quentin Ives can go out there now and say, hey, I've done this against an FBS team and I'm a good football player. And Ja'Cory Barty can say, hey, I can return punts and I'm going to take one of these things to the house because I was just a couple turf monsters away from getting a couple tonight. If I'm Cade Petchak and I've never done this before and I go out there and I get a couple tackles for loss in the first half and I go, okay, maybe I can do this, right? Or whoever else, Mav Noonan recovers the fumble. Like, pick a guy. There was a bunch of them. Pick a guy, right? Quinn Clark has the big touchdown. How important is that for Quinn Clark?
TV call out day before.
Come on. Shout out to our guy, Tim Verghese.
What a guy.
Who called that out on Friday and said, hey, Quinn Clark breakout game. And he has a huge touchdown reception for Nebraska. Like, that's a guy who we've heard Coach Rule talk about. We've heard him say, hey, I think Quinn Clark and Keelan Smith are pretty good. I think those are guys that can be good ball players for us. But at some point, they have to go out and do it.
Yep.
And that's as much on them as it is on the coaching staff to give them the opportunities to do it, as much as it is on the starters to get the game to a point where the coaching staff can give them the opportunities to do it, right? You don't want to have your first Quinn Clark opportunity when it's a tight game in the second half against a Big Ten opponent. You want him to know he can do it before that point. You want TJ Lateef, before he has to go into a game for whatever reason, to know that he can already do this.
Yep.
We saw that tonight where TJ Lateef puts
crazy legs Lateef, man.
Yeah, he puts a little stanky leg on somebody in the red zone.
All right. Now you're doing too much.
Now you're doing too much. And he goes in and he almost scores a touchdown. Then he gets the touchdown on the next one. He throws some really nice passes, both on the move and from the pocket. He's able to distribute the ball around. Like, you go out there and whenever it is, hopefully not, knock on wood, hopefully there's no injuries or anything like that. But whenever you need TJ Lateef, it won't be the first time he did it.
Yep.
Right? Yep. That's a big deal.
Yep. No, I mean, I said it earlier, but I do feel like I don't need to go to church tomorrow. Because, I mean, we're trying to just preach from the mountaintop. Listen, I can't wait to play this fun game where everyone tomorrow morning decides that there's something that needs to be improved from this, because I agree with you. This is the first, and I know what you said earlier, this is the first time in a while that you feel completely confident in exactly almost everything that Nebraska did. You don't really have a whole lot of things.
I don't feel bad about anything.
Right?
I don't feel bad about anything.
This is also weirdly the first time, and I was just watching the Cyhawk highlights going across the television across from us, and how many players from both of those teams that got to watch that game at 11 a.m., their fans, then tune in maybe to this game just because of regionality, just to see, right? Yeah. How many of those fans watched what Nebraska did today and said, damn, I wish we had that guy. Oh, man, I wish we had that guy. Because I know for the past decade and a half as a Nebraska fan, I've been doing that, watching college football for a long time.
Yeah.
I pointed at the screen and said, man, what would we do with that guy? Man, if we just had one of these type of players.
Yeah.
I think Nebraska's finally to the point where, listen, Lindenmeyer is back on the screen getting engaged and stuff. I mean, how many times do you think Iowa wished that they had their tight end look like Luke Lindenmeyer tonight?
Luke Lindenmeyer looked like an Iowa tight end.
He did.
Like, he looks like an Iowa tight end.
And you might be alive and real, too.
I mean, like, that's the...
And Harb. How about Harb on that cut block? Come on.
And he got a reception. He got a big first down reception as well. Like, there is a... Luke Lindenmeyer, and that's the highest compliment I can pay a tight end, is that he looks like an Iowa tight end. Like, that's the nicest thing I can say about a tight end.
Yep.
And that's what he looked like. He looks like one of those big physical, one of those guys that lines up and you're like, oh, he's just a blocker. And then he's beating you down the seam. And you're like, what happened?
And they did it early too.
They did. They hit one of the very first throws. One of the first throws from Dylan was right up the seam to Luke Lindenmeyer. That dude is, I mean, I know some people kind of looked at DB a little funny when he said that guy's a Sunday player. I don't know. He looks a lot like a Sunday tight end to me.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, I'm not absolutely no hate whatsoever, But at any point over the last couple years, did you think Thomas Fidone looked as good as Luke Lindemeyer has in the first 2 games tonight? I'm just doing apples to apples.
You're
Nebraska tight end who is currently on an NFL roster.
You're right.
Congratulations, by the way, to Thomas Fidone for making the Giants.
Right.
That's awesome.
No, you're right. We had a comment earlier. Kenny had said this, and exactly to your point, too. A lot of these plays look very similar to Satterfield's.
Sure.
But, I mean, how about either the execution, the different type of player, or who they're getting the ball to makes it look different?
And here's the thing. Here's the thing I would say is the biggest difference is the sequential play calling.
Yes.
Is building on each other. Okay, we did this and showed them this look. Now here's the variation of that because they're going to think we're doing that again. And now we're doing this other thing that looks like that, but it's going to send them in the wrong direction. Like it's the sequential play calling. It's the building of a game plan throughout the game. That is where I think great offensive coordinators, you see this all the time. I mean, everybody knows I have an infatuation with Gus Malzahn, right? All the eye candy is great and all the different things that they do to get you into compromised positions as a defense. But what he's really, really great at is calling one play, getting 4 yards, calling another play that looks just like it, getting 5 yards, getting 6 yards, and then calling a play that looks exactly like that but goes a totally different direction or goes to a totally different person and breaking you for a 40-yard touchdown. The building of a game plan throughout the game based on sequential play calling, that's where Dana Holgorsen is special. That's where Gus Malzahn is special. That's where the best coaches, the best play callers in the game on offense, that's where they make their money. Because I think Marcus Satterfield does have good offensive concepts. I think they ran a lot of plays that could work. But it was, how does it look in the grand scheme of all of this? And by the way, speaking of Marcus Satterfield, who's coaching that Luke Lindemeyer tight end room?
Oh, man.
What's his name again?
Put me on the spot. Is it Marcus Satterfield?
It is Marcus Satterfield.
Whoa.
I'm just putting it out there.
It's like a jazz ensemble, right? Everybody gets a solo. Everyone has their opportunities, but it's when they play, how long they play, and how they play, right? Dana just had to come in and conduct that whole thing. Nebraska had the pieces together.
Yeah.
They had that building. Everyone had to get a little bit better.
And listen, they brought in some new guys.
Yeah.
They brought in a few new guys.
We replaced,
You replaced Bakes and Nair with Key and Hunter. And listen,
Trombo one, you're out. Trombo, we're bringing someone in.
Hunter's a dude.
Yeah.
And Isaiah Hunter is a dude.
I'll tell you what, that's a lethal cross that he's got. I mean, he gets across the field so fast. And not only that,
and he's physical.
It kind of looks like he has the opportunity to kind of tell where he wants to go inside of his zone and sit there. Not necessarily like sit and wait for Dylan, but I mean, he kind of looks like he has an idea of where he's crossing and knows where in that depth he needs to be to.
It almost looks like I'm not an expert on route running. I'll fully admit that. It almost looks like...
Well, Millard North guy, so it makes sense.
Yeah, just some different things offensively than not a lot of crossing routes. Any passing plays are basically just like run past that guy. But it almost looks like he adjusts his speed so that... Because, a lot of times when we talk about sitting in a zone, a guy is physically stopping in that zone. It seems like he almost adjusts his speed so that he's running across the proper area of the zone in the right time for Dylan to find him, and he never actually has to stop and sit.
Did anyone have to wait for a ball to come to him today either? I felt like everyone was kind of running in full stride. When
a lot of on time deliveries from our guy Dylan Raiola.
I will say, and I'm going to test you with this one, so I'm going to give you some time.
Okay.
If you have a gripe from this game, I'd love to hear it. I do have one, and it's the obvious one is obviously early red zone, but again, I agree with you that it's like you corrected your mistakes later on. Even your backup third strings were like figuring out how to score. If you want to run fade routes, either as your goal line sets, as your third down plays, and it's timing, it's whatever, it's clearly a Dane Key play because they targeted Key twice. I'm trying to get that. And Isaiah Hunter had the touchdown against Cincinnati. Dane Key was targeted twice. They missed him both times. One was on I think, 2nd and goal. The other was on a 3rd and 7. Didn't get either of them. There's either got to be something on what you're reading at the line because it's a quick turn. I mean, Dylan, there's no RPO with it. There's nothing else. It's a turn, and they're going for it. Whatever the case is, if you trust that play and you like that play that much, got to figure it out more in the game flow and sense. Because I actually felt like we were talking about, that was like, someone guitar riffing and it just went, and just didn't get the right thing, right? You kind of mess up the string a little bit there. So on that same note, if that's the only thing, 2 pass plays out of the however many attempts that they had tonight, I'll take that. But if that's going to be what looks to be a key part of this offense, either it's got to change somehow, or you got to figure out a way to make it translate from what you've seen in practice to that. That's it. That's my gripe. That's all that I got.
Yeah. So I'm just going to be honest with you. I hate fade routes.
I do too. Listen, and our guy Kenny Bell is going to disagree because he tweet every single game. He's like, "Oh, back-to-back fade routes. I can't love Dana Holgerson more." But like, there's a part of that play where there's just too many variables that your timing gets bumped off a lot. You don't have the right play. Someone disrupts or gets in your face of the quarterback. Your step is a little bit too far back. Whatever. Too many variables in that sense that I'd rather have more options to go to instead of just 1, 2, 3 step go.
Yeah, so this goes back. I think my hatred for fade routes started in 2012 when the San Francisco 49ers were in the Super Bowl against the Baltimore Ravens.
Well, that's what you get for putting a sorry-ass receiver like Crabtree on me.
So that was in 2013.
Dang.
That was the next year when Richard Sherman was, again, another fade route. You're not wrong. I believe that was 2013.
Yeah.
But they ran, I believe, 3 consecutive fade routes when they were ready to go in and complete this incredible comeback with the lost power and the whole thing. And I've hated fade routes ever, especially when you don't have like a Randy. Like I get a Randy Moss is not common, but you don't have even like who was the guy? Oh, you had him, Kelvin Benjamin.
Mm-hmm.
Super big-bodied receiver, right? You had him in Carolina.
High point guy. Yep.
Huge receiver, high point guy. Like unless you've got one of those, like
any of those guys,
6'5", like huge high point receiver guys, I just don't know what we're doing. And so I have an irrational hatred for the fade route. I'm not going to say it doesn't have a place, but so I have a really hard time being objective about whenever one gets run and doesn't work. I'm just like, never do that again because I personally hate it. But I do understand there is probably a place for it in your game plan. And maybe you're trying to get some reps in it now versus so when you might need it later in Big Ten play. But listen, if they never ran a fade route again, I wouldn't be sad about it.
And listen, after I've seen what I've seen for the past 2 games, I'm not against that either. So yeah, I'm going to put you back on the seat though. Do you have any gripe or anything that you've seen today that has you being like, oh, work on that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the thing with Emmett Johnson and the fumble, that is a personal execution thing.
Yeah.
That's not a team problem. That is hey, you've got to do better. And I believe he will. And he did, right? 14 carries, 140 yards, 3 total touchdowns. Don't have a lot of complaints about Emmett Johnson's play.
I also think if you walked on the street right now in the rail yard, which is probably popping off, you could probably ask most people and say, how'd you feel about Emmett Johnson? They probably forgot he had a fumble.
Yeah, they'd be like, oh, he played great.
Yeah.
And he did. He played great.
Doesn't mean the coaching staff will forget. Doesn't mean EJ will forget, but that's the point.
That will definitely be hit on in film. I'm sure it was hit on in the next drive where he did not start the drive as the running back the following drive. That would have been our guy, Mekhi Nelson. I honestly don't have a huge gripe. I really don't. The one thing that and this is
your gripe. You don't have a gripe.
No, I don't have anything to be mad about.
There will be people though that will be upset for that reason.
Here's my one
gripe to work on this week.
Here's my one gripe is that the BTN broadcast didn't get an Archie Wilson punt.
What the hell?
So they had to just shoehorn in the middle of the 4th quarter. And also so here's my real gripe.
Okay.
Can we stop every time we talk about Archie Wilson, show the video of him crying? I'm sure he doesn't love that.
No.
I appreciate his transparency and his authenticity and all of that. But can we move on from the crying? He had a great game last week.
Show some highlights.
Yeah, show the three punts he pinned inside the 15 against Cincinnati to help Nebraska win that game. Give my guy a break here. I'm sure it wasn't his favorite moment he's had at Nebraska. Give him a break. He's 18 years old. He was homesick. His family's here now. Do the interview with mom and dad. That's great.
Yep.
That was terrific. You don't have to show him crying at the podium every time.
Yep.
That's my gripe. Is I feel like we're doing our guy Archie a little dirty on the broadcast. Let's knock it off.
Yep.
That's my gripe.
I've got you don't have to do this one, but I want to see this next week.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see an individual defensive lineman have a standout game.
Sure.
And I know did we determine if it was Elijah Judy or RVP that got the block?
I believe it was RVP.
Okay, so either way, I know that was a great moment. I really, and maybe this is just the luxury of being a Nebraska fan, that we had Ty, we had Sue, we had Crick, we had all these great defensive tackles over the past couple of years in recent memory.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a part of me that just wants to see I know I'm going to put him on the spot, and I know he's probably not listening right now. He's probably got other things to do. Williams Nwaneri, I would really love to see him just have a standout performance against Houston Christian. And not just because, it's Houston Christian, you can beat up on the little guy, all that sort of stuff. I just want to see that they have that dominant performance in one player to take over a game.
Yeah.
And truthfully, I might not even say defensive lineman. I kind of want to see it just from a singular defender. I felt that way with Donovan Jones. I thought he had a really good performance against Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to see a defender say, my day. Yeah. I'm taking this. And I want the story to be about me.
Yeah, whether it's like Shavers or McGahee or Nwaneri or Keona Davis. Mm-hmm. I like Keona Davis played really well against Cincinnati. Obviously, Cade Petchak was probably the splashiest
you're probably right.
defensive lineman today. Yep. I don't know how many reps he got. I don't have the snap counts yet. I'll get to those, and you can check back with me on Hurrdat Sports Live on Monday because I will get those. But I don't know. I don't know if there was one guy that has stand out. So I'll take that where I'm very high on the talent of this defensive line group. I really am. Yeah. I want to see it start to come to fruition a little bit more. We saw more tackles for loss today. Mm-hmm. We did see a couple more sacks today. I want to start to see I want to see a little bit more of some of those disruptive havoc plays from the defensive line specifically, especially with all the disruptive movement. McCullough's been really good. David put that in there.
2 sacks total by the defense, 8 tackles for loss, 4 pass breakups, 5 quarterback hurries, couple fumble recoveries, right?
Just the one, I think.
Just the one? Okay,
I thought it was just Mav, right?
No interceptions. I was kind of surprised with that, especially from the beginning. I thought that there was going to be some opportunities there, but
yeah, and that's I mean, ideally you'd like to start to see some more turnovers there. I mean, there was one last week or two last week, right? And then the one this week. So they were even today, so they're -2 on the season still. So
I would argue though that also, the game plan probably wasn't to try to get interceptions today. The game plan was probably to be like, hey, listen, make plays when they're available. So,
And I don't know what Akron's game plan was in terms of I don't think they were trying to put the ball in harm's way a ton, based on the way that was playing out. So it is, those are a little bit subjective in that sense, but I do think there's quite a bit there that individual performances defensively. But then I sit here and you go, okay, so they've given up 100 yards passing in 2 games total. Mm-hmm. They've given up, what was the total offense today for Akron? It was 175. So we're still not we're at 450 through 2 games, basically 440.
It's pretty good
through 2 games of, so if you're telling me they've given up 440 yards of total offense and 17 total points through 2 games, yeah, maybe I'd like to see a couple individuals pop a little bit more, but I can't ask a ton more from a defense than that.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I'd like to see a few more havoc and disruptive plays, but I'm not going to nitpick the defense here based on what we've seen.
I'm just trying to get content out of you. That's all I'm trying to do. While we've still got everyone here, thanks for tuning in. Hail Varsity Postgame. Do go to the Hail Varsity YouTube, the X, the Facebook, the Instagram, the TikTok pages if you're looking for more content. If you're driving back to Sydney right now, prayers for you, first off.
No one's doing that.
Okay. Relax.
Oh, maybe some people are.
Come on now.
Well, I would just night game. You probably stay the night in Lincoln before you go back to
You
Sydney.
think the people of Sydney have enough income to be able to get out there? That's rude. Come on now.
No,
we were a drive back. We were always a drive back.
You're a drive back family?
But anyway, if you're on your way back and you're probably
wild for a night game.
Probably hitting Seward right now, you're just trying to, muddle your way down I-80. Whatever the case is, if you're back home watching on your computer, whatever the case is, Hail Varsity, especially YouTube. You can check out all the press conferences, hear what everyone's saying. We've got all the press conferences already up. Matt Rule has already spoken, Isaiah Hunter, Desan McCullough, they're all up. We have the Luke Lindenmeyer videos on all of our social platforms. You're going to want to check it all out. Don't miss a moment from this. And also, if you missed anything, you tuned in late, your first time here to Hail Varsity Postgame, we're going to have this up on our YouTube channel. You can go back, you can join the conversation there, and it'll also be up on the Hail Varsity Postgame podcast pages on Spotify and Apple as well as soon as we wrap up.
Absolutely. A couple things here. We've seen this a couple times. First game, they've won 68-0 since 1982.
Ooh.
First 60-point win since I believe somebody said 1997. There was a 77-14 win back in 1997.
97, good year.
Yeah, good year. It was a good year. There's a lot to love here. Trevor says real quick, hey guys, looking at how Michigan lost to Oklahoma, how do you guys feel like we're going to do against them. I had that as a win before the season. Nothing's changed my mind.
Yep. Listen, I think I've been pretty up and apparent about how I feel about Michigan. Nothing that I saw from the Oklahoma-Michigan game actually deterred me from that in either which way. I still feel very confident that Nebraska, listen, I don't want to tell anyone where to put their money or anything like that. Michigan is still favored in that contest if you go to most sports books. Put your money where you think it is. And I know that my money continues to stay with Nebraska in that game.
The other thing I will say is Bryce Underwood against Oklahoma, they had a hard time getting the passing game going today. Nebraska secondary, I believe, is legitimately very good. That's going to be a thing I'm going to keep a really close eye on in that Michigan game. Like I said, I think Nebraska is I had Nebraska winning that game before the season, and nothing has changed my mind there.
Now, you'll have to remind me, was Bryce Underwood rated ahead of young Dylan Raiola in that Athletic article?
I believe he was, yes. I believe he was.
Someone in Norman, Oklahoma, unnamed quarterback, went 9 of 24 for 142 passing yards today.
Interesting.
One did. He also completed one pass that was 44 yards. So if you take that away, he's 8 of 23 for 98 passing yards.
It's really hard to be good as a true freshman quarterback.
It is, yeah. It's almost unheralded that anyone would have any sort of success and a high completion rate.
And, make it to a bowl game for the first time in 8 years or anything like that.
Who would think so?
It's really hard to do that. I mean, that's the thing that I asked the question about Michigan. I've asked that question. I asked the question about Gronowski. I asked the question about Arch Manning. I asked the question about DJ Lagway. It's harder than people think, and the way we just assumed, not you and me, we just assumed that some of these guys would make some magical leap without having a real reason to believe it other than they're just older now is kind of mind-boggling. And the fact that we didn't give that same benefit of the doubt to Dylan Raiola when we did have a real reason, and that real reason's name was Dana Holgorsen, to believe that he'd be significantly better this year, blows my mind. It will continue to blow my mind, but keep on hating, keep on doubting, and we'll just continue to see Dylan Raiola and Dana Holgorsen rack up stats.
I don't think we have too much more. I've got 2 questions left for you.
Let's do it.
First to last one, right? Some first? Yeah, whatever you want to say. I don't know. It's 11 o'clock. We're doing our thing. Do you see this game as confidence or cockiness coming out of it for Nebraska?
Confidence.
And I want to frame it in the way of like, you and DB obviously know a little bit more about this team than others would, right? The makeup of this team, the emotional state of this team, the youth of the team as well. As they get ready for Houston Christian and then 2 weeks ahead to Big Ten play, does a win like this build confidence or cockiness within the roster?
Honestly, I think it's all confidence. I think they will look at this result as exactly what they were supposed to do and nothing more.
I agree. Firmly agree.
This is how it was supposed to go. We didn't do anything special. In fact, it probably should have been an 80 burger. There's some things we can do better still. They probably are going to look at the defensive tape and be like, hey, there was some leaky yardage in the second half where we weren't as locked in as we needed to be. They were a missed field goal away from losing the shutout. Like there's probably things they're going to look at and be like, not only is it only what we were supposed to do, is we probably could have done more.
Yep.
And we should do more against Houston Christian.
Okay, so the last one I have, and I agree with everything that you just said there too, because not only because I agree with you because, I'm your friend, but I also agree with you because of what we've heard from the team from the first sounds of fall camp. This is exactly what they've talked about. Dylan went to Big Ten Media Days and he said the expectation is a national championship. Do you think national championship level teams get done with a game against Akron and they just go,
we made it.
We made it. We did okay. It worked in our favor. No, they're going to correct the things that they thought they need corrected. My last question for you tonight as we wrap up Hail Varsity Postgame. If Nebraska does not do the same thing, if not better, right? Maybe points, yards, statistically, whatever you want to frame it as, against Houston Christian a week from today, and it's 12 hours after the kickoff, 7 days from now, right? Do you have more fear, worry? What is that for you? And I know I'm putting you in an impossible hypothetical, but if I were to tell you right now, Nebraska does not beat Houston Christian by 68 points in a point differential, what do you think? Like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, so for me, the point differential isn't really important. It's about what it looks like, right?
Okay.
So this could be a, 52-0 win next week. And because you don't know what Houston Christian is going to try and do in terms of, like, hey, are they just going to try and limit the possessions of this thing and try and...
Maybe they'll run 3 high safeties.
who knows, right?
Who knows?
You have no idea what Houston. I mean, I'm not going to pretend that I watched the Arkansas Baptist game because I did not, even though it was on ESPN Plus.
I was going to say, was that game on television?
ESPN Plus. If you've got the subscription, you could have watched it. I could go back.
It's probably got the AOL like digital download thing.
Yeah, it's you're getting your dial up. No, I'm not going to pretend like I've watched Houston Christian. I haven't, and to be fair, I may not. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to try and scout that game or not.
First day of the NFL.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to do that tomorrow. I will rewatch the Nebraska game a couple times before Monday, but so point differential is not a thing I'm going to pay attention to. What I am going to pay attention to is Nebraska focused. Are they executing at a high level still? Do they seem like they're looking ahead to Michigan, or are they focused on Houston Christian? Those are the things I'm going to be paying attention to. Are they tackling crisply? Are they resetting the line of scrimmage consistently on the defensive side of the ball? Those are the things I'm going to be looking at. Should it be a blowout? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be 68-0 because like that's a huge number. Like I don't know. Yeah. But those are the things I'm going to be looking at. Are they focused? Are they ready? Are they paying attention to what the task is in front of them? Are they staying in the moment and executing the way they need to be? Because that's what happened today. That's the measuring stick, not the points. The staying in the moment, executing the way you need to, and holding yourself to the standard of what you're capable of, not what the other team is capable of letting you have or stopping you from doing, but holding yourself to the standard of what you know you're capable of. That's what I'll be looking for next week at Houston Christian. If I don't feel like they did that, then I'm not going to be happy about it.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's going to change how I feel about anything, except for like, hey, you better lock in, right? But if they look like that again, it will just continue my confidence that this is a good football team and that's going to beat Michigan in 2 weeks.
You know, it's funny. I don't often, as your producer for Hurrdat Sports Live, I don't very often get to know what the theme of next week's shows will be. Mm-hmm. I think I just figured it out. You got to watch the game. You can't box score watch these things.
No.
Because something tells me that next week, unless Nebraska somehow puts 69 or more points on,
which they might.
Very, very nice.
It
would be very nice if they did.
Yeah.
But if they don't, and you watch the game and you just watch the box score and you're like, they must have, something must have went wrong that game. If you watch the game and it's not the same that it looked like against Akron, I think you'll have a good idea or a better idea of what it's going to feel like when you go into Michigan.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're going to be able to tell who pays attention and who doesn't. That's fine. But, and listen, I'm not asking everybody to watch, like, there's a reason I watch the game multiple times before I go on the air on Monday. It's so that you don't have to, right? Yep. It's so that I can look at things and find things and see things that I can help bring that information to other people. The point is, though, you're not going to be able to just look at a box score because 68 is a stupid number of points. It just is.
Yep.
Right? Like it's a stupid number of points.
Yep.
So holding that to be the standard of success next week actually doesn't tell me anything.
Yep. Right? Exactly what you said before, too, because if Houston Christian decides to be the whole Army K-State game we saw earlier today, and they're like, listen, we're going to have 6 possessions all game. They score 6 times, they can't get to 68 points. That's not how math works.
Yeah,
right?
Like you could have another 0 punt performance and not get to 68 points. Like that's just how it works sometimes, right? So I can't look at that and just say like, well, if they don't beat them by, like, I genuinely believe Houston Christian is probably worse than Akron as a football team. I don't know that they're going to beat them by 68 points. They might. But I also know that they probably should have beat Akron by 80, if we're being honest. So, like, I don't know what that looks like in terms of what the score is. What I do know is I'll be able to see it if this team is locked in and ready to go and holding themselves to their standard and not just looking ahead to be like, we can beat Houston Christian with a D effort. Let's go on and focus to Michigan. No, I want the A effort for Houston Christian. I want the A effort for Michigan. I want the A effort for Michigan State the week after that.
Yeah.
That's what the program is about. That's the thing that's been missing in this program that we saw, I believe that we saw in the first 2 weeks. I think there was A effort against Cincinnati. There wasn't always A execution, but I think there was A effort against Cincinnati. I think there was A effort and much closer to A execution against Akron.
Yep. A effort tonight from Nebraska. 11 hours of sleep for Dylan Raiola, we found out in the Big Ten broadcast. And I don't know, you going to shoot for 11 hours of sleep tonight or what?
Probably not going to get 11 in, but might get a solid 7 or 8.
Okay.
Might get which is more than normal.
Healthy for a normal adult, which is very good for you.
Yeah.
You're not a grown boy no more. I don't think
7 or 8 is a 7 or 8's a good night for me. I'm usually sticking between like 6 and 7. So we might get the extra hour.
Dr. Girlfriend became a big DR fan after hearing that stat. She was like, that's what kids need. That's what kids his age need.
He's a growing boy. He works so hard. We love it. We appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. That's Austin Jacobsen. I'm Ravi Lulla. This is Hail Varsity Postgame. We will be here next week following Houston Christian, and we'll be right here for all of your Nebraska football, and everything else on Hurrdat Sports Live throughout the week. We'll see you on Monday.